Today's episode is brought to you by Domain.com.
Welcome to Film Riots Epic Summer and the last Thursday episode for UFO Yeah. This coming Monday, we have one more interview, but then on May 7th, we kick off Seth Worley's month with his latest short film and first episode of his behind the scenes series, which I could not be more excited for. But today, we are still talking about my latest short film, UFO Yeah, which we are jumping into sound today and a little bit of color grading too, so... One of my favorite things about any project is the way it sounds. I've said it a ton before, but the way my films sound is one of the most important things to me. It really is incredible how big of a difference the right sound will make. For this project, just like Proximity, I was lucky enough to work with Daniel James for the score and Rob Krekel for all the sound design and mixing. And just to show you how important sound really is, here's before Daniel James's and Rob Krekel's post-sound magic. Outside. Walk it in. And after.
Circle Europe. Supply knowledge. The world.
It really does change everything, and it's another reason I use temps for all my sound. For how I like to make films, the idea of sound is ingrained in how I tell the story. I'm thinking about sound in pre-production, ways that I can use it to tell my story and relay the emotion that I want. So without temp sound design and music, it's sort of tough for me to really edit my films down to find that pacing that I'm looking for. A lot of people do edit without temp music, and both ways are totally fine, it's just a matter of style and preference. But as I'm editing, I'll use music from actual film soundtracks. For this one, it was a little bit of Close Encounters of the Third Kind and a lot of Percy Jackson, and it's completely fine to do this since we're not publishing this at all, it's just gonna be changed out later. And the same goes for sound effects. Often I'm just Googling or jumping onto YouTube to grab temp sounds that will be changed out later. But once I have my locked edit, meaning I won't be changing the edit anymore, I'll send it off to my composer Daniel and my sound designer and mixer Rob Krekel. For Daniel, I'll export out a version of the film without any music in it and the time code embedded in. This way, when we're talking changes, we can get really specific down to the frame. For Rob, I'm going to be sending an OMF with a video track with no audio on it at all. But before I do that, I'll be adding a 5-in with a 2-pop and the actual film starting right on 1. And here's what I mean. Inside Premiere, we're going to right-click inside the project window, go to New Item, then Universal, Counting Leader. We will get this window here, click OK, and then we'll be taken to these options. The only thing that I'm going to make sure of here is that I have Cue Blip on to selected and click OK. Now before I throw that in, I'm going to be getting my time code going. So again, right click in the project window, new item, this time transparent video. I'll drop that into my timeline in the top channel that won't be used for anything else but this. Then go to Effects, Video, and Time Code. Pop that onto your transparent video, then go to your effects controls and make all the selections here that work for your project. Now with that in, I throw in my universal leader, and once I do, you see all this picture start stuff at the beginning, which I don't need for this. So I'll trim that to start at 5, then move to the point that my time code is at 01, and then a bunch of zeros, and that will be where I will have picture start, meaning where my actual film begins. For time code, in case you don't know, the first 2 numbers are hours, then the next 2 numbers are minutes, then the next are seconds, and finally, frames. Again, having the time code here will make it much easier to match up with your artist and get on the same page when it comes to changes. Rob also requested this 5-in with that 2-pop so that it would be easier to sync everything up. Just line up with that 2-pop and you're good to go. Next up is gathering the project to send over to Rob. For this, I'm going to be exporting an OMF, so I will click on my timeline, go to export, then OMF. In here, I will set render to copy complete audio file, so Rob will have all the media to work with, and it won't be locked down to what I trimmed it to. Then I click OK, decide where I want to save it, and let Premiere do its work. Once done, I will have an OMF file that will contain my project. So if I click on it here, it will open up in Adobe Audition, since that's what I use for my main sound editor. And once it does, you'll see that we have the project laid out perfectly here, including the tube pop right where it needs to be for syncing purposes. I can also drag out the audio clips since they aren't compressed down to my cut. So now I can send this off to Rob for him to mix and master production sound, and for him to add all his sound design goodness to make this sound amazing like he always does. I definitely want to go deeper into the post-sound process with future projects, but I wanted to give you guys a good look at how I package and send off my films to post-sound professionals. Now we take a break, then do some color grading. If you're an entrepreneur, an innovator, or an inventor of any kind, Domain.com is a place to go for your next great idea. They have domain extensions, they have a list of 200 plus and growing all the time. Extensions like .ninja, .expert, .nyc, .club, .cc, and so on. And we can save you money by using the coupon code FilmRight at checkout. You get 20% off your domain names, web hosting, and the email. So when you think of domain names, think Domain.com. The first half of UFO Yeah was graded by Ryan Schroeder of Transposition Films, which you can find all about those talented guys right here. They do all sorts of crazy stuff. But Ryan graded out the first half of the film in Resolve with all them power windows and other goodnesses, so I asked Ryan to do a quick tutorial using DaVinci for you guys to check out, and here it is.
All right, I'm gonna show you guys how I did some shots and some workflow stuff in DaVinci Resolve for UFO Yeah. Resolve, you can get it, the light version for free actually on Blackmagic's website, which I'm sure most of you know. I have a paid version because I need to do some more things that it allows me to do. So I thought I'd just show you how I did a couple shots. So if I've got a few nodes going on here, I'm gonna not start at the beginning. Instead, I'm gonna start over here, this film node right here. Yeah, I used a 3D LUT on this node. It's a film transform. I used the Vision Color Ultimate Pack. It gives you a whole bunch of camera profiles to start with. Ryan Booth shot on a C100 in Cinelog, so I chose that as a starting point, and then it gives you these film stocks as outputs. I chose the Kodak Vision 3 500 Tungsten 2219. Some guys will have different thoughts on LUTs. It's not a look, it's a starting point. It's not like you can apply a finished look to any project or any shot. You need to know where you're coming from, know where you're going to. A LUT is just something that does a color transform from one manufacturer's color into another one, in this case from C100 Cinelog to Kodak Vision 3. So I plug that into one node to start with. So what I'll do is I will grade all of this, of course, then. So the first thing I do is just an overall balance of the image. So you can see that if I turn that off, it's looking pretty orangey. Not a lot of color contrast. One of the things that you do want to see in your image is, for a lot of things, you want to know some color theory and how colors play off of one another. One of those is complementary colors. Right now we only have really one color, which is an orangey red. Complementary colors are things that are on the opposite side of the color wheel. So right here we have a little bit of blue maybe going on here, a little bit reflecting on the face from the light in the refrigerator, and then you got some oranges up in here and down in here, and orange and blue are on the opposite side of the color wheel, and it gives you that sort of orange and teal look that's pretty popular. While we're at this, I'm gonna show my scopes. So I'm gonna right click on the image and click show scopes. I just use Resolve's built-in software color scopes. This is your life as a colorist. So you can see down in here in the vector scope, this is yellow and red, so I'm just right in between there on an orange, and on the other side between blue and cyan, so I'm just looking at blue and cyan here. Obviously the shot is leaning more orange, but if I turned off this balance node here, like that, you can see you got a lot more orange going on and almost nothing on the other side. So if I turn that back on, a bit more in the blues, got some nice complementary color tones going on there. So with the balance, I mean, that I'll just do over here in the color wheels here. You can see I've pushed the offset in the log control a lot more towards the blue side. Then the shadow control here, what I did in this node is I just tweaked the shadow tones a little bit. I just still found that the image was overall a little too warm, so I just pushed the shadows just a bit more. if I flick back and forth, you can just see how I just push the shadows a little bit away from the oranges and just a little bit more towards the blues. It's just a primary offset. So what I did is I only, with this HSL qualifier, this is hue, saturation, and luma. I only selected the darks down here. So all the dark stuff down here, and I pushed that, only the dark stuff, only shadows towards blue. So if I was to turn this up, you can see how the whole image shifts towards blue, which is not really what we're looking for. But if I only select, look, I want to put the shadows towards blue, then I can only select what's down there, and then I get a nice, just a little bit more color contrast in the shadows. In the reds here, some of the reds were just really poppy and just really overbearing. You can see it in this this table over here. I used a hue versus hue curve. So what I did over here, hue versus sat and versus hue versus hue. So what you do here is you select a hue. So what I did is I selected this red right here with the dropper. It gives me a little node here, and I can just move that red towards that reddish oranges towards a different hue. And then the same sort of idea in the hue versus saturation. You can see I did a little bit of work here on that. The reds is what we're looking at here though. So if I brought this red up there, you can see that the red right around here is getting really poppy. Don't like that. Bring it back down. Here it's looking really desaturated, really desaturating the whole picture. This is this could be a really nice look for something else, but we wanted more of the oranges in there, so we're gonna just keep this right around there. We're back to our film node. If I turn this on and off, you can see how awful, unless it's interpreted through this film look. And I want to have as much color information as possible, so I'll do all my adjustments before the look gets applied. After this, then I just have a master output. It's just a primary balance. What I did here is just I made sure that my blacks were hitting as the blacks that I wanted to, and the highlights weren't clipping or anything like that. So if I turn this shot, or if I turn this node off, you can see that the blacks are a little too lifted, a little too faded for what we were going for here. So I just brought down the shadows to where we wanted them. So that's that shot.
But that is it for today. A big thank you to Ryan Schroeder for doing the tutorial for us. If you want to follow him or any of the other filmmakers involved, check the notes section below. You should also check out Lens Pro To Go's new website. They updated it. It's looking awesome. They're my go-to rental house and were one of the awesome people that helped make this whole project happen. So definitely throw some love their way as well. And since they're awesome, they're also hooking you guys up with some coupon code action right here. Look at that, and all its coupon codiness. But that is it for today. Just one more week till Seth Worley's latest film arrives for your eye holes. So I'll see you next week when we get them goodies.